Clay, you're an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. And as they say in Stoic, the obstacle is the way. And so if you let these pinheads get in your way, you're in trouble. Acta non verba is the motto of the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy at Kings Point, New York. I had appointments with Naval Academy and Kings Point Merchant Marine Academy. And Merchant Marine Academy's motto was acta non verba. In other words, don't listen to what a person says. Watch what they do. Clay, my honor to be on your show. And thank you for all you do. I hear the ripple effects from you are good ripple effects. You know what I mean? People rave about what they learn from you. So congratulations.
My name is Kevin Thomas, and the name of our company is MultiClean. We are a commercial janitorial service, and we serve the entire state of Oklahoma and Kansas and soon to be Arkansas. We have probably grown probably 5 times. We've added, I think when we first started with you, we had 60 to 65 employees. And now we have a little over 300 employees. Before we got involved with Thrive Time, we didn't really have any systems or processes in place. I've probably been to, in 6-7 years, I've probably been to 12 to 13 business conferences. And amazingly, each time I go, I learn something new, and I'm so excited to bring it back and show the team about marketing and how to implement, how to help you guys implement the SEO. And the coaching is just great because there's accountability, and it's just a fantastic way to grow your company. Having a relationship with Thrive Time it's just been amazing for MultiClean. Oh my goodness, it frees me up because then I don't have to take a class on search engine optimization or learn marketing or shoot video. That's not what we do. What we do is commercial janitorial service. And you guys are the experts on marketing, and you teach me and hold my hand and show me how to do it right. And therefore, now my company is much, much larger.
Folks, on today's show, we're joined by a real client. He may look like a male model. He may look like a hologram, but he's a real person. He's a longtime client. He's a man that we consider to be a friend of the Thrive Time Show and a friend of mine. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, Kevin. Welcome on to the Thrive Time Show. How are you, sir?
Clay, I'm doing great. Had a great Christmas holiday, and I'm glad to be here.
Okay, so first question, can you tell us what is your name, first and last name, and what's the name of your company, sir?
My name is Kevin Thomas, and the name of our company is MultiClean. We are a commercial janitorial service, and we serve the entire state of Oklahoma and Kansas and soon to be Arkansas.
And how long have we worked with you approximately at this point, sir?
It's been about 6-7 years.
All right, Flyver family, you love Fridays because we love Fridays. This is our chance to learn, take notes, and if you enjoy it and learn something, all the better. But we're growing and getting stronger and trying to make America great by helping Americans be great, take ownership of life, get in the driver's seat, the most important areas of life. Nobody can do that better than the author of How to Build a Successful Business, the one, the only, Mr. Clay Clark.
Yeah! Greetings and greetings. I appreciate you guys allowing us to, my team and I, to join the Flyover family. And for anybody out there who doesn't know, I'm broadcasting right here from Tulsa, Jerusalem, which if you look at the word Tulsa, Jerusalem, which is a word I kind of made up, in the middle of that, you're going to find the letters USA. So you got Tulsa and then Jerusalem, and in the middle, you'll find USA. So that's kind of how I view the world.
I love it. Very patriotic. I'm fired up about that.
There's not enough words in the English language to contain you. You got to make new ones.
That's
Clay,
exactly
one
right.
of the things that really set my family up well for success was early on. My dad grew up without a lot of mentorship coaching in his life, as far as from his familial line that he was given. But he found mentors in life, such as Jim Rohn and these people even from afar, and then other men that came into his life that taught him things along the way. One of the biggest things that he learned was setting goals and the importance of setting goals. And you do this throughout the year, but one of the best times to have a fresh restart is when you flip the page on the entire calendar, when you start the next year, and you can decide that next year is going to be different than last year. So when we were set up for the show, we're talking about, this is kind of the plane is landing on this current year. We're looking into the next year. We're kind of transitioning, and we're trying to figure out goals. Not only have you set a lot of goals, not only has your life, grown exponentially every single year, you've also been able to help hundreds and hundreds of clients, thousands of clients, and you've also been, an incredible speaker. You've done a lot of these workshops with goals, and we would love to talk to you about what are some things you've learned as far as setting goals. Some people are like, they think they're resolutions, and I'm told by like the 16th of January,
exactly.
Almost every resolution is falling apart. And so like goals don't really work because I've done them every single year. And it doesn't really happen. What is the difference between a resolution and a goal, and how do people go into 2026 making this the best year of their life? Apart from whatever politics and mark of the beast and everything else that could possibly coming at us in 2026, how did they make 2026 the best year possible?
There's probably a lot of people out there right now looking at their 25 goals and like, oh my gosh, I got to lose 60 pounds. I got to take my wife on. See, I'm behind us. You carry the 251 dates. They're like a little behind schedule trying to catch up right now for the end.
Well, I would just say the first thing you do is every day, you want to start your day in the following way. And this is, I mean, who am I to tell you to organize your day this way every day? So I'm just going to tell you the philosophy or the process that I do. It's every day. Every day I get to work. Everybody watching the show, you want to get to work on your life. Every day you want to work on your life, not just work in it, but on it. And you want to write down your goals every day for your faith, your family, your finances, your fitness, your friendship, and your fun. So write down your goals for your faith, family, finance, fitness, friendship, fun. So I'm going to walk you into my goals for today. People always warn me. They say, Clay, you shouldn't share your goals publicly because then people will attack. And I think there's a little bit of a Joseph coat of many colors thing that happens when you share your goals publicly. But I'm going to share my goals.
You might end up in a pit.
Yeah, you might end up in a pit. So I'm going to share my goals for today that are on my actual to-do list. And this is my to-do list. So, all right. So faith, I did a deep dive, self-guided Bible study today on every verse the Bible has to say about the false prophet. Now, no one told me to do it. I'm doing it. Why am I doing it? Because I want to know that. Self-guided journey, false prophet. That's what I did today. It was on my list. So you say, how does that work? I set my alarm for 3 in the morning, and I go to bed at 9. I can't wake up at 3 unless I go to bed at 9. So if you're watching today's show, action item number 1, write down right now, what time are you going to go to bed? Every day. Because that's a big thing there. So what time are you going to go to bed? So what time are you going to go to bed? You got to have that kind of boundary. So for me, it's 9. Maybe you're watching, you want to go to bed at 11, whatever. But I'm just saying for me, I need to go to bed at 9 to wake up at 3 because I need to go 6 hours of sleep. Someone else says I need 4, I need 8, I need 10, whatever. But just a very basic level. What time are you going to go to bed? And then what time are you going to wake up? Right? And then step number 2 is you want to script out the first 2 hours of your day. You need to do that. So for me, I get up. And I sit down. I mean, literally every single day I do this. So you make a list of the things you're going to, your faith, your family, your finance, your fitness, your friendship. So my faith, we talked about that. Family, every year I make a tower of gifts that gets increasingly larger and larger and larger. It is now 12 and a half feet tall, my gift stack for my wife. I do this every year. I just hit 12 and a half feet. I'm stacking up. And you say, why are you doing this? It's because when we got married, we couldn't afford air conditioning or heat because I took all of the money that we made and I put it back into growing my company, djconnection.com. And so my thought was, at some point when I start celebrating Christmas by giving her gifts, which she doesn't ask for, by the way, I just want to make sure that this, again, and Dave, for me, it's exciting knowing that today, there's the gift. Yeah, it's exciting knowing that today I'm going to wake up and study the Antichrist prophet. To me, that's exciting. To me, it's exciting knowing that I'm waking up today and I'm finishing off her gift stack. And Dave, I think if you're watching this right now and you don't have your goals for tomorrow, it's kind of hard to motivate yourself to wake up. So I would recommend that you plan out the next day. So, I wake up excited, Dave, about today because I already know the things I want to get done. I went to bed knowing that when I wake up, I get an opportunity to do these things. I'm excited about these things. So even though it might sound crazy that some guy wakes up early to study the Antichrist prophet, it's just, I have a list. Dave, I want to get your thoughts on that because for people that aren't used to carrying around a to-do list, this might be a foreign idea.
Well, either you're going to put things on there and do them or someone else does. And the people that don't control themselves, somebody else will control you. It's like our basic philosophy. I got pulled over by a cop when the kids were little, and I'm like, do you know why he's pulling me over? Because I wasn't controlling my own driving, and so someone else had to control me. That was our parenting philosophy. If you can't control your hands, I have to control your hands. So your hands are in timeout. We're going to the store, but your hands have to stay in your pockets because you weren't able to control them yourself. And so if you don't control what goes into your time, someone else will. And a lot of people, they want to be an entrepreneur because they really just don't like having a boss. But if you're not willing to be the boss, then you have to have a boss. If you can't control what goes on your list, someone else has to create a list for you and do it. Nobody avoids it. I mean, you can eventually be homeless, or you can live in a jail cell and somebody, but eventually somebody is going to control you. If it's not you, it's someone else, and you either put it on your list or someone else does.
So again, I just going back. I want to make sure we're all getting this. The daily process. Every day, you want to figure out what time am I going to bed, what time am I waking up, right? Then you want to make your goals for your faith, your family, your finances, your fitness, your friendship, and your fun. Okay, so faith, we talked about that. Family, I talked about that. Finances. I know this might sound crazy to the listeners out there, but I don't really have financial goals anymore. But I used to. And I'm not attacking you if you have financial goals, nor am I saying you shouldn't. I just don't, because my cost of living is so much less than what I have earned and what I have saved, so that I don't think about it that way anymore. So my but I want to speak to someone who's new to this. When I was building DJConnection.com, I'm not exaggerating. I literally had on my list, I wrote it on the list, eat budget gourmet chicken panini. It's on the list. And every once in a while, coworkers would say, I remember the guy Garrett. Garrett came to one of our recent conferences, and Garrett was my coworker when I worked at Faith Highway. I was working at Applebee's, Target, and DirecTV. I also worked part-time at a call center. And Gareth was my roommate, or my coworker. He was sharing the cubicle space with me. And Garrett came to the conference, and he was joking because he remembers these moments. But I'm 20 years old, and I've got it on my list. Eat budget gourmet chicken panini 3 meals. And people would say, what is that? I'm going, it's 96 cents. So my daily food budget, I can eat after taxes for $4.50 a day. And I looked like Skeletor. I looked like I was only eating a sodium diet, So, but that's what I did, and it's because I wanted to grow my company. And so I wrote down my goals for my faith, my family, my finances. I was very measured on that. And I worked at Applebee's, Target, DirecTV, and the whole idea was all of that money is going to go into buying a TR225, and maybe your producer can pull it up. It's a JBL TR225 and an SM58. You can put it up on the screen. An SM58 is a Shure handheld mic. Okay, a TR225 is a now outdated JBL speaker that's about 4.5 feet tall. And I had specific lists of things I needed to buy. I needed to buy a 1955. There you go. I needed to buy a 1955 Shure SH mic. By the way, those speakers at the time were about $500 a piece. And when I was working at Target, I was making like $650 an hour. So $650 an hour after taxes. It was about 80 hours of maybe 100 hours of work at Target to buy one of those. And I needed to buy 2 per system. And so every 2 weeks I could buy another one from Target. And so it's very specific. So faith, family, finances. Another time in our life, Dave, I determined, my wife and I said, listen, every time that we make $1,000, we're going to buy an ounce of gold. Just every single time that we've made. So we just kept doing that. And I had a dry erase marker I would write on my mirror. Every time I saved $1,000, I'd buy an ounce of gold, buy an ounce of gold, buy an ounce of gold. And I kept doing it until eventually I couldn't see myself and I was shaving in the morning because it was just all tally marks. And so I do believe in financial goal setting, but now where we're at, my wife and I, is that we, because we've been self-employed since I was 20. I've been actually self-employed since I was 15. So before I got married, I had already been self-employed for 5 years. So we now have a thing where we just live dramatically under what we earn. And so the teaching moment is, if you're watching this right now, and Stacey, I want to get your thoughts on this. You've got to have some kind of budget. You got to tell your money where to go. Otherwise, to quote Dave Ramsey, you're going to wonder where it went. Stacey, that's a big discipline for us. We just live that way now. So now we don't question the guardrails or the boundaries of where money goes. What do you say to somebody who's maybe new to setting financial goals?
I think that is brilliant what you're saying. I would even kind of go back to a conversation that you had with our team this morning, talking about being debt-free or financially free. That is something that you have lived your life by, and you talk about, obviously, God talks about it, being a lender, not a borrower, being the head and not the tail. But you even talk about like when somebody is debt free, when somebody is financially free, you don't have to stress on a daily basis. So getting a position where no one owns you and you own everything that you have. I would say for us, that's been a major goal, in our adult life of how can we be the head and not the tail, the lender and not the borrower. So that was really great what you had to share this morning with us on the call. I wanted to make sure that everybody knew that as well.
Faith, family, finances, fitness. Now, I'm going to tell you guys a little fun story here. This is kind of interesting. Theologically, maybe someone out there disagrees with me. I believe that in a certain timeline of events, somebody else watching this, you believe in a different timeline of events. We all believe in different timelines of events. But I would say rebuke everything I say or everything you think I'm hinting around saying and read Mark chapter 13. That's Jesus' final sermon. Okay. Matthew 24, Jesus' final sermon. Luke chapter 21. So read it yourself. Mark 13. Okay. What? Mark 13. Okay. Luke 21. Matthew 24, right? And Revelation chapter 16, verse 12 to 14. Revelation chapter 16, verse 12 to 14. And the Bible tells us that when the Euphrates River dries up, the false prophet shows up, China and Russia team up, the nations gather against Israel, stuff starts to blow up, and the beast technology shows up. Now, somebody out there could disagree about timelines and whatever, but I'm kind of a guy right now where I'm telling my wife, if I knew exactly, roughly, approximately the season of which the Antichrist would show up, I'd probably eat more sugar cookies. I'm not kidding. So so it just, I don't know. It kind of, my theology, it's just interesting how my wife's like, are you being serious right now? I'm like, oh yeah. I mean, if I knew the Antichrist is coming back on Tuesday, I'm definitely crushing some sugar cookies before that happens because I like that. And so it's sort of a battle right now, theologically speaking. But your faith, your family, your finances. This morning, seriously, I worked out this morning with our trainer. I'm doing that. I've been faithful with that, and we're being consistent. But whatever I schedule to eat is what I'm going to eat. So I'm not like shocked what I ate, and I'm not shocked what I'm not. So if you want to lose weight, one of our longtime clients, a great guy by the name of Thomas. He went on the carnivore diet, as you guys are very familiar with this.
Yep.
He lost 91 pounds in 6 months. And I said, Thomas, how'd you do it? He said, you're a carnivore guy, the guy that you guys introduced me to, Dr. Baker, Dave and Stacy and Colton, you guys introduced me to Dr. Baker, the carnivore diet author. He came to our conference and he challenged this man. He looked at him in the face. He said, hey, if you'll just only eat meat for 6 months, I promise you'll lose at least, 30 pounds. The guy lost 91 pounds. We had 2 conference attendees. One guy lost 83 pounds. One guy lost 91 pounds. And if you don't believe me, you can go to Rumble and you can search for Carnivore Diet and Thrive Time Show. And I interviewed these 2 people. You go to Rumble, search for Thrive Time Show, Carnivore Diet. I interviewed these conference attendees. Both had lost in excess of 80 pounds in 6 months. And so I'm saying, guys, how did you do it? And both of them said, I just put on my schedule, eat meat. And then I did it, and that's all I did, and it worked. So I'm just saying, whatever you schedule gets done. By default, we drift. So faith, family, finances, fitness, friendship. I'm big in that. If Dave Whitehead calls, I'll always take that call. So if I miss the call, I always call you back. I do. I mean, it's so, I work with you guys and I'm honored to serve your organization and to help you grow as a coach advisor guy. But also I'm saying, if you need something, you text me, I'm calling you back. If it's a positive conversation or a weird conversation or a wonderful conversation, you get it. We're friends. That's how you do stuff. I'm going to call you back. But I'll tell you this, certain people, I won't call them back. Why won't I call them back? Because they're not friends of mine. And so you say, what do you mean? What's a friend? A friend is where you share time and values. And if I don't share values with you, there's no need for me to keep calling you. So I'm just being real with you guys. We have a very limited amount of time, on this earth. We got 24 hours a day. And I get a lot of calls from people that are not a big fan of the things we said on the Reawaken tour. I can't tell you. Once we announced that Robin Bullock was joining us for the in-person event in June for the June Reawaken reunion, once I announced that Robin Bullock was coming and that Julie Green was coming and Amanda Grace was coming and Eric Trump was coming and General Flynn was coming. Del Bigtree, by the way, just announced he's coming to the event.
Wow.
As we started announcing bigger and bigger folks that were coming, the hate just pours in. It flows in. And it's people that I used to go to college with. It's people that used to work for me. It's people that former clients, and they're just like, you're a conspiracy nut. I can't believe you'd bring in a prophet to speak. That kind of thing. So faith, family, finance, fitness, friendship. But you know what I'm doing on the Christmas Eve? And I showed you my Christmas schedule so you know. I'm going to go visit my longtime friend and mentor, Dr. Zellner, and I'm going to present my annual Christmas gifts. and my annual Christmas song that I write for him each and every year. And I'm going to do the things I do because he is a friend. You know, and on Monday, Dave, a very good friend of our family, we're going out to dinner with these people. They're business owners. They're struggling right now. They're not clients of mine. I know their family well. And they said, hey, we are really in a destitute situation financially. Our business is not doing well. And secretly, we've been watching your client success stories. These people, I've known them for years. They went to Thrive Time Show. They clicked on the testimonials. They've watched them. They said, I know, and I know you've always tried to separate and not try to teach a business to your friends and the whole thing, but we are really in a terrible, terrible spot. And Dave, we're talking about doctors. We're talking about people that are doctors. They got degrees. They're actual doctors. And am I going to make time on a Monday night to go hang out with people? Yeah, because they're friends. And so, Dave, that whole friendship thing, and Colton, you see this, you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Yep. And Colton, you weren't born yesterday, but you're in that age right now where you have young kids.
Yep.
You got a young family, and the norm is get a divorce.
Yep.
The norm is get a divorce. The norm is get together and publicly complain about your wife. The norm is be an absent mom. That's the norm. The norm is be an absent dad. The norm is neglect your kids and spend your day on Instagram. So, Colton, I mean, you've had to be intentional, right? I mean, about who you're spending time with.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's very intentional. The natural, you said it earlier, I think that's the key word is the drift word. You know, the Napoleon Hill talks a lot about that word, and that's, you know, the conversations back and forth with the devil, you know, that he had. And the idea of drifting is very normal. That's the actual normal path that happens if you let go of the wheel. If I let go of the wheel of my life and I'm not intentional about keeping it on the road, I'm naturally going to drift. I'm naturally going to gain weight. I'm naturally going to not have good relationships with my kids. I'm naturally going to have not great relationship with my wife. I'm naturally going to have more debt because the world wants you to have more debt and be overweight and not happy and not looking good. Like, so if you let go of the wheel of your life, that's what's naturally going to happen. So, you know, if that's happened to you and you're out there and you're like, man, I'm 20 pounds heavier than I was a couple years ago. I'm you know, more in debt than I was a couple years ago. My marriage isn't as good. That's good news because all you got to do is just grab hold of the wheel. At any given time, we have the creativity. We're made in the likeness of God, in the image of God, which gives us the ability to be creative. That next year has the ability to be better than last year. And all you got to do is just grab hold of the steering wheel and be intentional. Because naturally, if I let go, you know, if I'm talking to my wife and I'm like, you know, hey, here's a really cool thing, and I like let go of the steering wheel, naturally my car is going to drift off the road. And if your life is kind of drifted and you've hit the bumpers, now you're on the other side of the bumpers, you know, now is a great time going into next year to grab hold of that steering wheel and decide in these areas. I think you've pretty much hit it. I've heard it described a lot of ways, but I love your 7Fs, Clay. You know, the 7Fs just give you kind of the main categories you do not want to drop the ball. These are the 7 categories that naturally will drift into obscurity and destruction if you do not grab hold of the steering wheel, set some goals for 2026, and decide where those hours on your calendar are going to go. Every morning, my wife and I get up at 5:30. Every morning, she starts a load of laundry while I make her coffee. Every morning, we get down in front of our fireplace. We read our Bibles together. We go through Psalms. We go through Proverbs. And then I'm studying New Testament. I'm currently studying James. But every morning, we get together and we study the Bible together. And we actually pray over our kids. We pray over my mom and dad. We pray over my sister. We pray over our family. And we set our morning with intention before the kids come down and the morning's chaotic and everything else can come in place. We had our date night last night. My mom and dad invested in our kids and got to have the time with our children. And
they are the best, too, man. We have so much fun.
Every Thursday night.
But my wife and I went to Texas Roadhouse and had a really 3-hour long conversation about our life and next year and our hopes and our dreams and our ambitions.
Look at that.
And we have a long planning section next week where we're going to plan out all of 2026. And we got the big old calendar. We're going to start putting all the you know, the different little stickers on there of where we're going to go and where we're traveling and all the goals for next year. But it's a lot of intentionality. And some people look at that and they're like, that's no fun. You've taken all the fun out of everything. I've seen you have an agenda for Christmas, and people are like, having an agenda that takes out all the fun. And I'm like, actually, the structure and the intentionality is what provides all the fun. Because now once you know what's going to happen and you can actually discuss it, now we have the ability to change if we need to. But at least there's a plan in place that gives the space and the structure for fun to happen and for a better life to be in place.
Dude.
A couple things that you said that I wanna back or validate what you said and add supporting to it. You know, you talked about you got to take the wheel, and any area where you don't take the wheel, you drift. Well, maybe your producer can pull this up. According to Inc. magazine, 96% of business owners fail. I mean, that's not an awesome number. 96%. What? 96% of businesses fail. Now, the numbers are also not great for faith, family, finance, fitness, friendship, funds. If you're watching this right now and you feel like, to what Colton said, that you're not having success or you're drifting in any area, the great news is you can recalibrate. You just got to set a daily time every single day to organize your day and plan out your goals for your faith, your family, your finance, your fitness, your friendship, and fun. And I want to tell you about friendship one more time. Last night, Mike King, you guys know Mike. I know Mike. He's an attorney. Mike helped me lose millions of dollars and not all of it this year. The Reawaken Tour, we did the Reawaken Tour. Rudy Giuliani was sued. I was sued. Mike Lindell was sued. So many people were sued. And basically, you spend millions of dollars on legal fees and all the different things you do. And unfortunately, none of us won our legal battles, financially speaking, right? And so we all had different levels of not winning. And it was a great way. By the way, the Reawaken Tour is a great way to lose millions of dollars. And so we're doing the Reawaken Tour. And I really appreciated, though, how at the end, he was able to take what I was asking him to do and combine it with his legal mind. And we got an outcome that I thought was the best it could be. And so I called up Wes, his partner, the attorney up there. I said, Wes, I want to surprise Mike, and I need to know where he's going to be because I need to bring the mariachis to surprise him. Mike's a very normal, a very stoic guy, kind of a quiet man.
I call him Scary Mike just because his voice. He's like very serious. Clay, how you doing? Thanks for calling me back. I call him Scary Mike.
And he's like, reminds me of like a Bill Belichick 10 years ago kind of thing. Very stoic, very, And so I called Wes, and Wes said, well, he's going to be at a birthday party for a guy named Marvin. And I go, okay. So he'll be with Marvin on the 18th. What time? He said, he'll be there at 7. I got it. So I called the mariachis. I called Jorge and the band. I said, guys, what are you going to charge me to bring the band to Mike and Marvin? They're like, who's Marvin? I'm like, don't ask the questions. Just when can you be there? They said, yeah, sure. So we sent Mike the mariachis. So I sent the mariachis to Mike and Marvin. We went to this golf place. They were having some, bougie Christmas, whatever. And we showed up and we're singing happy birthday to Mike and Marvin, and the places, people were looking around like, what is going on? Had a lot of fun. And I did that because this is kind of where I go, faith, family, finance, fitness, friendship, fun. That's kind of a friendship thing. And Mike and I, we don't agree on everything. I don't agree with everybody on everything. But as an attorney, I am asking, this is my strategy, and I need you to use your legal mind to get to the outcome that I want. And he was stuck with me for almost 4 years talking about the same thing. And I told my wife, when this situation gets resolved, I'm sending in the mariachis. So that's what we did. So faith, family, finance, fitness, friendship, and then fun. This is a big thing for me.
Hey, Clay, can I say one thing before we get to fun on friends real quick?
Yeah.
I think, we're in our 50s now and kind of gone through a lot of stages of life. And one thing I've kind of always had to keep adjusting is in every area, are there people a little ahead of me? Are there some people kind of at my same level? And there are people I'm pouring into in that level, like in my faith. Is like, is there somebody that challenges me? When I hear him, I'm like, oh, man, I am horrible. I need to grow in that area because they're so inspiring. It's irritating. Yep. You can't have just that. You need some people that you're kind of chewing on that with sideways, and then some people that maybe you're a little further along. You're like, hey, here's something that helped me, a year or two ago in my fitness. There's got to be some, friends that I have that, and some of them I might know, some I might know. Never had a chance to hang out with Jim Rohn, but he was somebody when I heard him. There's pastors, Josh Howerton's a guy right now that I listen to a lot because when I hear him, I'm like, oh, that is so good, in these different areas. In marriage, there's some men I'm around. I'm like, man, that guy, oh boy, that's where I need to be. And then there's some that we kind of talk, this way. Then others, I'm like, dude, here's something to help me. But you kind of need those 3 levels around you in each of these areas. Sometimes I'll talk to people and they're always the smartest person in the room. They're always the wealthiest person in the room. They're always the fittest person, in their circle. And that's good, maybe you're pouring into, but you need some people sideways and some people also. If you're always the smartest person in the room, you probably need to change the room up a little bit as well and get some other people in there that kind of get that going, and have all 3 of those levels, because you do learn a lot by then taking it and then also pouring it into someone. I always have a batch of young men around, Colton's age and some of his friends, and they'll kind of pull me aside or we go to coffee, those kind of things. And so you need all 3 levels, and I'm always adjusting that. I'm like, man, I need some guys around. When I lived in Nashville, there was a lot of guys that did Ironman triathlon and stuff. It was easy to find those guys. It's been harder here to find the fitness guys that are like, my circle and where we're at. A lot of times we're not out and about as much. So like that's an area I need some more men in my life that are, more fit. And so I'm always adjusting those 3 levels in every area.
I'll say this too, again, hammering home what you're saying, and we have not talked about that offline. One of the mentors in my life, a guy by the name of Masood, very successful guy, very successful doctor, very successful real estate investor. He explained to me that his philosophy consists of this: you learn, earn, and you return. You learn how to become successful, then you implement it and you earn money, and then you return, you teach the younger generation. And he kind of views his life in those 3 areas of you're constantly learning, you're constantly earning, and you're constantly returning. And so again, we go back to this: faith, family, finance, fitness, friendship, fun. Fun. What I'm doing for fun, I'm just telling you what I'm doing for fun. I typically try to write a song a week. But I had to, with the Reawaken tour, I had to set that aside because I didn't have time to do that and research, RNA modifying nanotechnology patents, polymerase chain reaction tests. So I'm spending my day studying these RNA modifying nanotechnology patents. And things I'm not interested in, by the way. But I had to study that for a season. And so I had to kind of set aside, which is kind of painful for me. But for music, I'm kind of wanting to put together a song about dating my wife on a Tuesday, taking my wife to Whole Foods on a Tuesday, just something kind of ridiculous. So I've got a list of songs about like that. I've got a book I'm working on called Finding Funny. Finding Funny. And it's just how to find funny when good things are not happening to you. How do you find funny? How do you find the silver lining, or how do you make yourself laugh? Laughter's a good medicine, but how do you find funny when it's not funny? How do you find funny when my dad's dying of Lou Gehrig's disease? How did I find funny, when my best friend just died in a car accident? How do I find funny when my wife had a miscarriage? How do I find funny while being sued? How do you find? So I think there's a lot there, and so I'm working on that. So I got that. It's on my list this year. It will be done this year. I've got songs I'm working on over here that they will be done this year. I'm trying to create, Dave, a Branson-style water wheel at my office, and so it's on my list because that's a need. We're not even talking about a want, folks. That's a need. Maybe that should change in my priorities. But I'm researching how to create a water wheel. Also, when you pull in, I'd like a ranch style entrance where it's like a big old thing that says "Welcome to Camp Clark" when you drive under it. And I've got all these lists of things I want to do. But again, these are all, that's exactly what I'm trying to build. So faith, family, finance, fitness, friendship, fun. And again, we only have 24 hours in a day. So every single day, the discipline, I'm making sure someone's getting this, and I've got some notable quotables I want to break down for you. But one, you're going to need a to-do list. Okay. So if we were going to go camping, I would say you might need a tent, you might need some matches or a lighter, you might need ABC 1, 2, 3. If we're going to go skiing, you might need the poles, you might need the skis, you might need there's certain gear you need. The gear that you need a to-do list. You got to have. Now, by default, what you're going to do is you're going to have the Monday.com app. Google.
You're getting personal, Clay. Getting personal.
There you go. You're going to have Slack. You're going to have, there's like 7 or 8 different apps going on simultaneously, 2 or 3 apps. You're going to be using your email as an app.
Yep.
Email. So for me, my inbox is always at 0. Every morning, my inbox, I get my email down to 0 every single morning. I'd never have that thing of more than 0 emails in the morning. Every morning, every morning I got my to-do list. One to-do list for my one life and one calendar. And that's so challenging. Folks, if you don't have one calendar, so tonight, this is crazy. James, who you guys know well, he's having his wedding at my office tomorrow. So James is getting married in our building tomorrow. So James is getting married tomorrow. So behind me, while we're doing this show that the family's organizing for the wedding, tonight, Dr. Zellner and I are having our combined Christmas party at the Mayo Hotel. So we got that. And then tomorrow we got the wedding. And so my wife and I, we would not know where we're supposed to be and what we're supposed to be doing if we didn't have a shared calendar and we didn't have a shared to-do list. So you got to have a to-do list and a calendar and a to-do list. So the physical items you need is a to-do list and a calendar. And then you got to have non-tangible, but very important. You got to block out time every single day. And you say, what do I do during that time? You're going to write down faith, family, finance, fitness, friendship, fun. And you're going to say, what do I need to do in those areas today? And then you reflect on yesterday and go, how did it go? Did I do a good job? Did I screw it up? How was yesterday? And that's a conversation between you and God. And then you just, to your point, Colton, you take the wheel and you course correct. And so I've got some notable quotables. I kind of a stack of stuff here from people that are perhaps more respected than I am. And I want to read a couple of these to you here. So this is Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey, he says, if you live like no one else, later you can live like no one else. What? If you live like no one else, later you can live like no one else. So back to my protein guys, the carnivore guys. 2 wonderful clients. They lost a combined 170 pounds in 6 months. They each lost over 80 pounds in 6 months. And so they loved the results, but they did live like nobody else. And one of the guys loved the all meat diet. The other guy, not so much, but they both lived like somebody else, so they got that result. Another notable quote I want to read to you is Napoleon Hill says, "Render more service than for which you are paid, and eventually you'll be paid for more services rendered." Render more service than for which you are paid, and eventually you'll be paid for more services rendered. So when you're reflecting upon your day, you would think to yourself, did I over-deliver or under-deliver? And there's just different ways you could do that. So we had a very highly respected member of the law enforcement community who reached out to me the other day, and he said, "Hey, Clay, I really, really, really appreciate you for introducing me to person A, B, C, 1, 2, and 3. And I said, "No problem." He said, "But you didn't have to do that." And that's kind of what I want people to say. I wanted to say, you didn't have to do that. There was no reason I had to do it. It was that he said, "If you get a chance, could you introduce me to person A?" And I said, "Sure." And then I called him up and I said, "Hey, we're having an event, and person A, B, C, 1, 2, and 3 are all going to be here. Do you want to meet them all?" And so all I'm trying to say is it's a constant trying to over-deliver in those areas. And a mathematical way to look at this, Dave, is if you're saying right now, I've never set goals before, or I've never set big goals, or maybe I just want to recalibrate my goals. Financially, I want to focus on the finances because that's something that I really am passionate about. You got to start with your big number. So for me, my big number was, man, I want to make $1 million before I'm 30. I want to be a millionaire before I'm 30. That was my big goal. I want to be a millionaire before I'm 30. I get excited about it. I want to be a millionaire before I'm 30. You get excited about it. Write it down. So you got to write down a big goal. But then it was like small numbers. I was a DJ. I was a disc jockey. Pre-Christ, again, folks, pre-Christ. But it was, well, Dave, if I make $150 of profit per wedding, 175 is kind of the max average. If I'm making $150 per event, I need to do at least 4,000 events a year to clear $600,000. So I would have to do 4,000 weddings a year for 4 consecutive years after taxes to hit that goal. And so I set out on that goal. And I think, Dave, getting a big number is important. I don't know if you and Stacy, as a young couple, if you ever did that, but you want to have some sort of exciting number. Like there's got to be something realistic but exciting. And then you have to take that big goal and turn it into that almost painfully small daily number, which to me, that was 80 weddings a week. Okay, so it was 12 weddings a day. So every day it was 12 weddings a day, which in order to book 12 weddings a day, we had to make 1,200 calls a day to brides that had registered. So I went from the big goal, Dave, down to 1,200 calls a day. And 1,200 calls a day is what produced the big goal. And I think taking the big goal and getting into that minutia of like 1,200 calls a day. No one makes 1,200 calls a day. But with Dave, we got that list of brides that registered at David's Bridal and the Knot.com and all the bridal shows. And I was obsessive about 1,200 calls a day. And Dave, I know we just covered a lot of ground there, but I think the big goal and then getting it almost into that tedious, small, step by step is where that's the gap. That's bridging the gap. That's where the discipline comes in to go from the goal to the achievement of the goal.
Yeah, there's a quote that most people kind of overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in 10 years. And, it's the same thing with a year. Like you kind of overestimate what you can accomplish in a year, but underestimate what you can accomplish in a day. And it's that kind of daily grind of, one of my goals we were going to do right before COVID hit, Stacey and I were going to hike the Appalachian Trail. You go from Georgia up to Maine. And, it's like 2,300 miles. And it seems like that's almost impossible. That's a long ways to go. But it's like 14 miles a day. A little more, a little less, depending on where you're at in the altitude and the climb. And it's like, well, that's not too bad. But you stack a lot of them together, and it's the same way over the course of a year. Things either pile up for you or pile up against you to kind of gain weight, and it kind of wow, that happened. You see a picture, and what's a bad angle, or people start commenting, wow, you've lost weight. That's amazing. You're like, man, I feel like I am because I'm just kind of chopping away at it. Everything kind of stacks for you or against you, in that same kind of a way.
It's again, what you just said is it's powerful. It's powerful. And if you think about it with the hiking example, you think about it with the DJ example. If you go to thrivetimeshow.com, this is my homework for you. These are my 3 calls to action for you. If you go to thrivetimeshow.com and you click on testimonials, there are over 2,000 clients, 2,000 people that I've helped that have had massive success. And I never get tired or bored of hearing about the stories. We had one this week, Dave. It was a political event I got invited to last year, or it was like, I guess 2.5 years ago, but it was when the NCAA wrestling tournament was in Tulsa. That's to kind of date this story. And somebody we met that we would know through the Reawaken tour, they called me and said, hey, President Trump's going to be there. Jim Jordan's going to be there. You should be there. And it'd be a great way for you to meet some of these political people. You should go. So I'm there at the Bank of Oklahoma Center watching wrestling. I'm not a big wrestling. I don't dislike wrestling, but I'm not a big wrestling college fan or whatever. So I'm there. And all these famous people are everywhere. And then to my right is a gentleman who is a chiropractor. And the conversation we just had right now, we were having. And he's going, man, all these guys are telling me you're killing the game in business. How do you do it? And I said, well, let's look at what kind of business do you have? He said, I'm a chiropractor. I said, well, tell me about the business. So he says, well, this, and I said, who's your biggest competitor? He goes, I don't know. So this is all, I got my to-do list, my clipboard, I bring it everywhere. And I'm sitting down with a guy at a wrestling tournament. And this guy used to be a college wrestler. And he's going, so what do I need to do to hit my goals? I said, what you need to do in your business as a chiropractor, VISMD. He said, what's V? I said, you got to get video testimonials from happy clients that you've adjusted. You got to get images of clients having a good time. S, you got to write search engine content. And M, you need more Google reviews. Okay, so he said, what's D? Dream 100. You need to reach out to all the personal trainers, all of the doctors that deal with people that got hurt in an accident or something. And you want to that's a Dream 100 list. Make a list of those top 100 centers of influences. And he said, how many videos do I have to do a day? I said, 5. How many images? 5. How many search engine articles? 5. How many more Google reviews? 5. So we're having this conversation. And he and I haven't talked for, I don't know, it's been like a year. See, he calls me up. Hey, do you remember me? I said, yeah. He goes, I'm the guy who was sitting next to you, chiropractor guy, the political thing. I said, yeah. He goes, my wife and I, she's a licensed therapist. And anyway, she wants to start it. Could you help us grow that thing? And we just put out the success story. The company's called Modern Mental Health. But here, he called me a year later. And so, Dave, once we got the VISMD, you remember that part? Then it became, well, how do we find good employees? And how do I make a call script? And how do I build systems? Anyway, long story short, this is a guy who had been thinking about the conversation that we had, 2 years ago? And it resonated with him. And he's like, wow. If I'm going to achieve goals, I know I need a coach or someone to guide me down the path. I know myself well. And he's a top-level college athlete who wrestled like he's one of the best wrestlers in America. And he goes, wow. When I was a top wrestler, I had a top coach. And I know I need one for business too. So I'm going to have you guys help me. So I just say, call to action number 1, go to thrivetimeshow.com and click on testimonials. And that's what that gentleman did. He was taking a year just to watch success stories to kind of build up his faith that he was in the mindset to do it. And it's free, and there's thousands of them. Call to action number 2. We do business conferences once a quarter, and we have our next business conference. It's going to be coming up with Tim Tebow in April. And I apologize, I don't have the dates on the website yet. And that's because I'm waiting on the details. But again, it's limited seating. It's going to be in April. And if you want to reserve your ticket or request a ticket so we don't sell out for that, you can go to thrivetimeshow.com. ThriveTimeShow.com, and if you use promo code FLYOVER, you get a chance to win a backstage pass. You get a discount off your tickets. You can also support the Flyover broadcast. And then third is we have the Reawaken reunion, and that thing is going to be radical because we got Steve from Elijah Streams, Robin Bullock will be there, Eric Trump, General Flynn, so many of the wonderful faces. Laura Logan will be joining us. Del Bigtree will be there. It's going to be a lot of fun, and you can go to timetofreeamerica.com to request those tickets. That's June 19th. And 20th. And what we're doing is for all the attendees at that event, if you buy a ticket for the Reawaken reunion, we're going to give you a ticket for a business conference that we're going to host the day before the Reawaken reunion. So the Reawaken reunion will be a Friday, Saturday, but we'll host a business conference on that Thursday. And so more details for that will appear. So to be very clear, thrivetimeshow.com, look at the testimonials. 2, come join us at a business workshop. That's thrivetimeshow.com. 3, the Reawaken reunion. That's timetofreeamerica.com. And as always, if you need a free 13-point assessment, and you say, I need someone to help me grow a business, we have a business coaching platform where we do photography, video, web, search engine, online ad optimization. We help you with your bookkeeping, your accounting, your numbers. We coach you on how to grow a successful company, and that's $1,700 a month. Or we have a scholarship where for as little as $750 a month, we can help you. And I've been doing it for 20 years. I've got thousands of success stories. And it all starts with a free 13-point assessment. So, Dave, a lot of information. I know we covered a lot there, but hopefully that helps everybody out there set some big goals in 2026. And I don't know, regardless of theologically where you see the world going and how that happens, it's very important that you have goals. It's very important that you're a person on a mission every day. It's very important that you're seizing the day and that you're viewing every day that God gives you as a gift from God and what you do with it as a gift to God.
As we close, there's a lot of people probably you have some time right now. Maybe you're driving around, you're going visiting family, things like that. Colton, can you pull up his Tower of Power?
Yeah.
There is a great resource. If you're kind of like trying to get your mind right and calibrated and get this stuff right, there's a resource on Clay's website.
It's a secret resource.
It
You don't find this without knowing the direct URL.
You got to know the hack.
You got to know the hack.
Get in here. Colton went to town on this resource.
Yeah.
And just like every day, he sounded like Clay.
Yeah.
And ramped up his learning curve so quick in so many areas. I just want to put this out there.
It's so good. You go to thrivetimeshow.com/Tower of Power. I do have permission from Clay, and he's on the call, so he could stop me if I did, but it's already out of my mouth.
But he never puts this out there, so if you don't hear about it now, you won't hear about it.
thrivetimeshow.com/Tower of Power. I was at a conference, and you mentioned this, thrivetimeshow.com/Tower of Power, and I heard you say that, and I was like, I'm going to do that right now. And I went home and I went through every one of these. And you can go through you start at the foundation, start at the bottom, because you want to make sure you have a good firm foundation first, build a firm foundation, and then you go up from there. And every single one of these are audios that you can click on and listen to. And that's just how you organized it on your website there. But every one of these are audios that you can go through and listen to. And they're all like 20, 25, 30 minutes long. And they are so good. And they're so much funny. And I laughed. And I went through every morning. I was going through these. And then you got extra little bonus features. I consider like extra credit things you can go through here with Jim Rowe and all these other good audios. Is it? Free.
That's Zero. Right.
Free.
And most of them feature Dr. Zellner, by the way. I called Dr. Z and I said, Dr. Z, you and I are on the same page with every business principle pretty much. And I think it'd be great if I could get you in the studio with me to do shows every single day to build this. So he and I did, I want to say something crazy like, 60 days in a row or 90 days in a row or something. So there's a lot of chemistry in that show and those shows. It's really hilarious. There's a lot of times where we just lose our mind while talking about the entrepreneurial grind. There's a lot of funny moments. So it's a good time.
So good.
Man, that is great. Well, we don't want to keep you any longer. We know you've got something else coming up, but we really do appreciate your time. Merry Christmas, and thank you so much for these tips.
Clay Clark is here somewhere. Where's my buddy Clay? Clay's the greatest. I met his goats today. I met his dogs. I met his chickens. I saw his compound. He's like the greatest guy.
I ran from his goats, his chickens, his dogs.
So this guy's like the greatest marketer you've ever seen, right? His entire life, Clay Clark, his entire life is marketing.
4,000% from February to February. Now I can better that. Okay, Clay, I don't think you know this. I don't think you know this. I'm pinching myself, and if I cry, forgive me. In the last 2.5 days, we have bettered our entire month of February in the last 2.5 days. So, and the phone's blowing up. Everything's just blowing up. You're right. It is like a rocket ship. So we're pinching ourselves, actually.
I learned at the Academy, Kings Point in New York, acta non verba. Watch what a person does, not what they say.
But I recognized at the age of 15, I'm going, you know what? I am not going to live that way. And so I started a company out of my parents' basement called djconnection.com. And I decided I am going to have success. And so I reached out to millionaires and people that I kind of knew through church and friendships and parents of my friends. And I said, what book would you recommend that I read? I'm a 15-year-old asking this question. True story. And I kept being told, you got to read.
Hello, Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Radio Show. It's an exciting time. Also, I think a treacherous time, a spooky time also. But it's always, danger is a good time. Today, my guest is Clay Clark, and I went out with Tom Wheelwright to visit Clay with Eric Trump also. And the reason I want to talk to Clay this morning is a very important subject called study. And the reason I say that is things are changing so fast, and many people are completely missing the show. You know, things are changing at rapid speed. Technology is changing. And so I went to Tulsa, well, again, with Tom Wheelwright and Eric Trump. And the thing I was so impressed about Clay is this word called study. I don't know, you guys must be in your water or something, Clay, but boy, I was so impressed how big you guys are. But what really impressed me was you have this huge congregation. They're all about guys your age. They're on fire. And you start your classes at 5 in the morning. Now, let me talk to you about study here. We show our books here. Now, this is how I study. You know, this is the creature from Jekyll Island. It's on the Fed. And Clay's doing the same thing. We study. So I go out to Clay's place in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He's built this huge compound out there. And you guys start at 5 o'clock in the morning. It's not by Zoom. They drive there. They show up 5 o'clock, bright-haired, bushy-tailed, and all this. And they're on fire. Your group is on fire. So that's what was on Clay, this technology. You tell your group I was so impressed. Because, like I said, studies became a bad word. I got into fights in my own company because our staff didn't want to study anymore. And I don't know how they cannot do that. So Clay, anyway, welcome to the Rich Dad Radio Show. That's what I want to talk to you about is how do you do it? 5 o'clock in the morning, you have hundreds of people showing up in your huge auditorium on your property to study. Anyway, welcome to the show, Clay. And what turns you on so much? That's what I want to know. Give us a little about your background.
My name is Karime Schofield, and the name of our company is Whistle While You Clean.
I am Sophia Schofield.
We live in Cincinnati, Ohio, and we service the tri-state, so Kentucky, Ohio, Indiana.
We were getting a phone call, and we were like, why is someone calling our business line? That's unusual, and we picked it up, and it was a lead.
I mean, it's been incredible, Clay. We've gone from 0 to like 100% growth. Like we're like a full functioning company. It's great. Like we're blown away at how well we're doing. So working with you guys have really taught us a lot about generating leads and pursuing our Dream 100. So we have a list of customers that we want to market to. And so we've been making phone calls, we've been showing up in person. We're trying to get near the businesses that they would visit if they were visiting like a hair salon or something. And then we start calling them and we just start pursuing them. And then the other thing that we do is when we do cleans, we take a lot of video testimonials and we post those to our website so other customers can see. And then we also upload a lot of images of the things that we do. And so we're also asking our clients for Google reviews after we've cleaned their houses. And so it's this constant like cycle of doing those things over and over and over again. I would say if you're on the fence, go to one of Clay's conferences. They are hilarious. They're fun. They're educational. They're so good that even my teenagers like them. And I would say don't let fear hold you back. If you want to start a business, do the obvious thing and hire someone who knows how to run businesses. If I wanted to get in shape, I'd hire a gym person, a personal trainer. This is like the personal training for business. It has been absolutely amazing. I mean, our coach is encouraging. When he first met with us, he said, do we want him to be like a drill sergeant with us? What level of intensity do we want him to give us? And I will say he is incredibly encouraging all the time. And he just hits the same mark with us every single time. It's very repetitive. But I think we both really learn a lot every time we sit down and have a conversation with him over the phone. He keeps pushing us to go further, and he can recognize when we're afraid to do something and he'll give us a little bit of grace, but that next week he's drilling us again, like pushing us to go harder. Our no-brainer offer is we are offering your first clean for $1. And that sounds absolutely insane. It even sounded insane when I was talking over it with our business coach. And I will tell you that that has generated some of our hugest clients. I mean, that has been like a game changer because it opened up the door to more clients, more recommendations, more leads. And we were surprised how far that dollar clean got us.
How important has it been for you to work out that scripting, even though you offer $1 for the first clean? How important has it been for you to nail that down?
It's been really important because it kind of it hones in so that you're not just all over the place when you're trying to explain what it is that you do. And a lot of times it's like you're a good person offering a good product and you have integrity and you want to communicate that. But when you go to communicate without a script or without practice, it's just like a mess coming out of your mouth, as opposed to having this, honed in practice where you know what you're going to say, you know how you're going to say it, and you can almost expect better results when you do it that way.
Had you ever been an entrepreneur before starting this particular business?
No, never.
Did you ever think about wanting to own your own business someday? Or what was the first time you thought, maybe I would like to open my own business?
Absolutely. I've probably been dreaming about it for about 10 years.
Okay, and let me go to your daughter here. Had you ever thought about wanting to team up and open your own business, or was that something that you were maybe excited about, or not so much?
Well, for me, my parents would always listen to your podcast and business podcast. And as I started listening to them, I started realizing that I wanted to own a business.
It's www.whistlewhileyouclean.com. Honestly, the hardest thing was getting over the fear. It was the fear of the unknown. There was like a cloud of doubt that, you can't do this, you're gonna fail. There was a few sleepless nights there when we did pull the trigger and join your team and start the coaching process. Even my husband put a little bit of pressure on me from time to time because it was just absolutely scary to take that jump and actually start a business.